I'm a fourth year PhD student at Claremont Graduate University right now, and I do positive organizational psychology. And so that's all good and well. The reason I got into that actually has nothing to do with the org psych, but in the positive psych. I went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and I took a advanced social psychology class where I learned about positive psychology, and I was totally taken back by it. I thought this is amazing. This is exactly what I want to do in psychology, but I don't know what exactly I want to take it into. And it turns out there are two programs in the country with positive psychology in their name. So it was either come to Claremont or go to UPenn, and I ended up at Claremont. And after about a year, I realized the organizational side of it was pretty cool too. So I stuck around. A good way to think about any of those is in reference to traditional psychology. So through a traditional psychological lens, we look at individuals in a deficit-focused way, such that people have abnormalities and we want to try to get them back up to a baseline state, to something normal. Whereas positive psychology takes that and kind of turns it onto the other side of the coin and says, well, people do all right. They're at a baseline state, and we want to get them past that into flourishing. How do we get people not just to be okay, but to be their best selves? And so what positive psychology does, instead of looking from a deficit angle, it looks at the strengths that people have and figures if we can focus on the strengths that we already have, then it'll make up for the weaknesses that are a part of who we are. Organizational psychology is taking a psychological lens into the workplace. So everything from the structures and strategies behind a business model down to the way that employees are interacting with each other, or the way that their office space is set up so that they can interact with each other, and everything in between. What positive organizational psychology does is look at organizations, and instead of thinking, how do we stop people from getting burned out, the opposite side of that coin would be, how do we get people engaged? How do we get people to love what they do so that they do a great job at it, so then the individual and the organization will benefit in the long run? Long term, ideally, what I'd like to do is executive coaching.
Okay.
And that would just be working with executive officers and organizations. And in a lot of ways, it's like being a therapist, but it's the sort of the positive psychology angle at that. Instead of, someone comes in and says, hey, doc, I've got these issues going on. Can you help me out? I come in and say, hey, look, I'm a sounding board. I'll let you work your stuff out with me.
Yeah.
And then by the time you get to the end of this program, you've found a way to be a better you. And as an executive coach, I wouldn't necessarily be developing the individual so much as facilitating their self-development.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my dream goal. But on my way to get there, what I'd like to do is some kind of consulting for organizations. That's probably the number one way or career path for people in organizational psychology, is doing internal or external consulting. And the difference there is that with internal consulting, I would work in a single organization throughout the life of that career position, and just do projects with them and stay in-house somewhere. Whereas external consulting, I would work for a larger firm like Accenture or the Boston Consulting Group, or maybe a boutique firm somewhere, and organizations would then hire the external consultants such as myself to come in and help them fix problems, and just as an as needed basis.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about organizational consulting is that managers or owners of companies, executives, will come to us and say, this is my problem. And for us, the consultants, what we hear is, this is a symptom of my problem. And so then for us, it's a matter of solving that. How do we dig out the root and find the real problem here that's causing this outcome you're seeing? And that can be so many different things. In my personal experience, I've dealt with problems as simple as two co-owners didn't get along with each other. As an organizational consultant, it can really be absolutely anything that goes on in an organization. I've helped people create mission statements, rediscover what their strategy is going to be, create a competitive advantage in the industry. So ultimately, it's, I'm coming in with a specialty and understanding how the mechanism of an organization works. Because somebody who's at the very top of an organization is seeing things in big picture, so numbers and bottom lines, and somebody at the bottom of the organization sees, just the job they have right in front of them. And so my job is to come in and be able to look at all levels of the organization and see where the missing links are, where there's an opportunity for growth, and then to find a way to restructure so that everything else doesn't fall apart when we try to make a change. External consulting is looked at in various levels. So you might have, say, a research associate is the bottom level employee, and then it goes up from there. And typically, they follow what they call an up and out, or up, I think it's up or out policy, which is basically you move up or you leave. And people burn out very quickly in those organizations and in those positions because it's a lot of work, it's intense work, doing like 60 to 80 hours a week, lots of travel, 80% of the time even. And so if somebody's coming from an undergraduate program where they're being prepared to do consulting work, that's very common, where consulting companies will go in and recruit from undergrad. But then those individuals will usually start out in a research analyst position, which is basically the minion of the organization. We have grunt work to do, you go do it. Do the research, do the paper write-ups, whatever those things are. Doing things like an executive assistant position, coaching firms are great to intern at. Even interning in an HR department somewhere is really good. Blue Shield has a really great program. I think it's called the Blue Shield Emerging Leaders Program. And they do internships in San Francisco with that. Those kind of experiences will be the most helpful. And then also research, I say this, like analytical skills. So being good at statistical analyses, those aren't necessarily the most important skills, the statistical analyses, but if you're good at those, it's definitely a bump up. It's really coveted in the field, and it'll get you to the next level because you can run statistical analyses that give you better data, that tell better stories with the data, that then help your projects move along in a better way. Good writing skills, being able to write up reports, which it always sounds like a big scary word, a report. Like if you can write a 10-page paper that gets you an A in a psychology class, you can write like a 2 or 3 page report, and like by the time your boss looks at it, they're going to say you put too much in here. Like you need to cut it back some. It's okay. You don't need to do that much. In general, I think that what people go for is master's degrees, because you can do a master's degree in 2 years. It's really not that long. The master's degrees over at Claremont will get you organizational psychology as well as an evaluation double major. So that evaluation piece is really helpful in organizations as well. At a school like Claremont Graduate University, which is a private school, that's kind of expensive. That's like an $80,000 2 years. As students, like that's a lot. PhD takes a long time and it's a lot of stress. And if you don't have like this crazy desire or need or want to be a doctorate, then that's totally fine. A master's degree is amazing. It'll get you so far in life. Uh, what a doctorate will do is that it gives you the opportunity to specialize. So for me, that specialty is looking at cross-cultural considerations in the workplace as well as emotional intelligence at work, because more and more we're seeing organizations move into that knowledge work and having to really appeal to the humanity in their employees, as people realize, hey, I deserve more than just a paycheck at the end of the month. So with that specialty, then what I can do is jump straight into higher level positions, either as an external consultant or within a company, say it like Apple or Google or name whatever tech company, where they want somebody to specifically work on just like the organizational culture here, or on one specific field. But typically people in doctorate programs have their eye on academia, so they're trying to do research, or they want to just teach, or stay in academia for the rest of their careers. Yeah, especially if somebody wants to go into a career in organizational sciences.
Yeah.
The I'd say the conference to look at, or the conference group, would be SIOP. I think it's SIOP. I don't remember what it stands for, but it's like the applied organizational conference where, yeah, people are coming from all over the nation, some even from outside of the nation, and discussing, how do we take this research that's going on and apply it right here in the workforce. And that conference in particular is full of networking. I mean, the number of friends I have that have found jobs through that conference is starting to get out of hand. Honestly, I wish that I had taken a break between undergrad and graduate school. Um, a lot of a lot of my peers did that, and they either worked a little bit, or they did some travel, or whatever they did. Um, but I just went straight into a PhD program. I have a saying: if I half-ass take care of myself, I've only got half an ass to take care of anybody else. So I have to whole ass myself. So that break would have been me whole assing myself instead of just coming straight here and hoping that it works out. I think with this in any field, the question that any of your students should ask themselves is why? Why do you want to do this? Is it because it makes tons of money? Great, that's fine. It does make a lot of money if you do it well, but you have to do it well. Is it because you want to make a difference in the lives of people at work? Also great. But have your reasoning why, or else you'll end up in a program studying for something you don't even know why you're doing. You're just there for it because it sounded good at the time. So have a reason.